Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, sounding off on a healthcare model with Indiana roots that's saving workers and companies millions of dollars. It could be a national model. Plus, Subaru plans yet another major expansion in Lafayette and a lot more. Joining me this week on the Insiders, pleased to be joined by Garcia and Associates owner and president Charlie Garcia. Also, Content by Carter president and CEO Cam Carter. And Hallowell Consulting President Jennifer Hallowell. And welcome one and all to the Insiders for another edition. We begin this week, our top story this week, healthcare, wellness, obviously big issues for companies and organizations all over the state of Indiana, controlling those costs. Charlie, a model, Ascension St. Vincent Health has created a near-site wellness model, if you will, saving Carmel Clay Schools $11 million in 2 years. It's being picked up by Fiat Chrysler in Kokomo, Detroit. Could be a national model, but it's all something Dr. Mike Busk developed the idea, and it's really catching on.
Right, Jerry. It's a changing times for healthcare. Essentially, I was on the board of Ascension for a number of years, and with that, looking at different models and what really works. We have looked at on-site for a number of years, probably 10 years right now, and there's a lot of small companies that are doing it. But to be effective at it, and I think the key is the relationship with the community, and having, of course, the critical mass of the population for the need. Yeah. So I know Ascension, St. V's here locally have done a lot of thinking about it, and we're excited about it. Yeah. I mean, it is a national model.
Yeah, and it is really growing. And Jennifer, as you look at this issue, you know, politicians, companies, organizations, all trying to get their arms around it. At the end of the day, it looks like innovation is kind of, you know, driving some of the solutions.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, healthcare costs obviously are a significant issue for companies and for you know, employees, and access to care is a big issue and a reason, you know, the convenience factor why people maybe don't get care, but it drives costs down for everyone to have a model like this that we hope to see expand across the state. Yeah.
Let's hope there's a huge wellness component to this, because, you know, that ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure is so very true, and we've got to do something to get control of our healthcare costs, because it's not going to be Medicare for all. Yeah, and that is a big part of it, is the wellness piece. Also, I thought it was interesting this week in Carmel, $25 million behavioral health center. Construction began on that center in Plainfield. It seems as though these behavioral centers, health centers, very much in demand and growing in a lot of places around Indiana. Well, they will be when you have a government mandate that says you have to treat mental health ailments the same as physical health ailments. And so this is a demonstration where government policy drives what private market actors do in that marketplace. Also interesting that Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts this week, more on the philanthropy side, the NFL Combine is here, so a lot of focus on the field, but off the field, giving $1 million to IU Health to focus on addiction treatment services, not only here in Indianapolis, but around the state. So I think, you know, another example, not only the health side of things, but the philanthropy from Jim Irsay and the Irsay family.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, certainly on the behavioral health hospital, it's something that we need, and actually the Indiana legislature just passed a behavioral health commission that's going to look into, you know, we have rising rates of suicide and suicidal thoughts, addiction, all kinds of issues that need to be addressed. They're growing.
You know, Gary, I know on under Mitch Daniels, Governor Mitch Daniels, he had a plan for behavioral health and couldn't get it passed for a new site. I do work, I'm one of the developers at Central Greens, where the old Central State Hospital was, and there's been such a need for that and a reduction in the funding of behavioral health. So I'm excited about seeing that there's more attention being brought to it and that we're going to add resources behind it. So.
Another big week for economic development in the state of Indiana. A big expansion, announced another expansion at Subaru of Indiana Automotive in Lafayette. That plant, that complex continues to grow. This week announcing plans for adding some 350 new jobs at the Lafayette site. Cam, a place that came to fruition in the late 80s amid political controversy in the gubernatorial race at that time, but it has done nothing but hit home runs essentially for all these years. Yeah, I think we can definitively bury the 1988 political back and forth on that. Thank you, Bob Orr and John Mutz, for your vision and foresight. Tremendous. I have family that is employed there, and glad that their family is growing, and shows you what happens when you have
far-sighted vision when you commit resources, both public and private. If you go up 65 and look at all the interchanges there, developed a bunch of farm field, not that we don't need farm fields, but into a tremendous economic engine for that area of the state.
And you mentioned Bob Orr and John Mutz and Vision, and Japanese companies in particular. When Subaru opened up, there were a handful, and today I think the number is over 300 Japanese companies in the state.
A tremendous economic development strategy, not just a tactic, but an overall strategy that takes you out decades.
Another piece of the economy that is very important is sports tourism, if you will, not only in Indianapolis, but around the state. This week and this weekend, the NFL Combine is here, one of a number of big events coming up in Indianapolis. And as we look at Jennifer, efforts, Indianapolis has really defined the Combine in so many ways. Great infrastructure with the medical and health facilities and all those types of things. But now there are cities, LA, Dallas, and some other places that want to pull it away. You think they'll be successful in grabbing the NFL Combine?
I don't know. I don't think so. We have such a great reputation, and we have so many leaders who are deeply involved in this and have made Indiana and Indianapolis shine. And then you have Ryan Vaughn with the Sports Corp. Just so many people who are watching out for Indiana's role in these kinds of events, and I think will continue to be the master.
Yeah, and Charlie, you look at the health component, and that's such a big piece of the NFL Combine, and the infrastructure that is here to connect Lucas Oil Stadium and the facilities with the health facilities. Nobody has that in some of these other places.
I mean, years ago when we put together CICP, corporate partnership, the focus was what are the attributes that we have downtown, and one of them was healthcare, was IU Health and all the hospitals and our technology and research. And so we've really capitalized that when it comes to sports. A motor speedway, racing, and college sports and professional sports.
And we have an unprecedented run, Cam, big events coming up. The NBA All-Star Game in a year from now, essentially, will be here next year. In the future, it'll be the NCAA Final Four. It'll be the College Football National Championship game. So it really is big business, but the competition to get those and to land those events is intense.
It's huge business. Again, another overnight success story. Decades in the planning, strategic vision carries you out, and don't forget, you just did a package on esports, I believe, and the final table for the World Food Championships is coming, so that's culinary sports.
I forgot about that. That's
coming
exactly
in
right
as well.
The other piece, the NBA All-Star Game, this legacy project is statewide. They're handing out grants to, I think, 21 communities, not just here in central Indiana, but Porter County, Lake County, all around the state. So there is statewide impact to these sporting events.
Yeah, and I think it's important that those kind of programs are going out, further outside Indianapolis, so that we're continuing to show the value of what the capital city is doing, but also connecting people to that.
Lots of big events coming up. Jennifer Hallowell, also Cam Carter, Charlie Garcia, thank you one and all for being here on The Insiders, and we'll be right back after this.
Thank you.